Hey friends, Dr. Stephen. So it's week 13 in our class, and I have to apologize that I was pretty absent last week. No good excuse for it. We were actually in Florida. My wife Linda is a public school teacher, and next year is actually going to be her final year, hopefully, before retiring. But we had an opportunity. We had frequent flyer miles that were going to expire that we had to use, and we had an opportunity for a facility to stay in, and we ended up spending the whole week in South Florida. It was just such a needed break for us, and I just am thankful that it was God provided it for us. But I apologize. I had every intention of being really diligent every evening to get on my computer and keep up with all my courses this last week, the discussion threads and those things. But somehow, every evening, it was wonderful weather. I'd end up on the little balcony where we were staying, and the palm trees were waving, and it was warm, and somehow I just didn't get to it. So my apologies. This week, it's cold, it's a little rainy, with a little snow mixed in here in Colorado, so I'm going to hunker down and get caught up on things. So, wanted to talk to you about two things. First, there's a very, very short video, 3 minutes long. It's by Dr. Tim Keller. I'm sure you're all familiar with Tim Keller. He did it 4 years ago on the Gospel Coalition website. And it's just remarkable. It kind of circles back from that discussion we had with Pastor Andrew Arndt at the beginning of the practicum about what seminary doesn't really teach us and what seminary is not prepared to help train us in. And it's Tim Keller's own personal list of what seminary didn't teach him. And that's going to inform the discussion this week. The only other two things are continue with your weekly journal entry, because at the end of the semester, in just a few weeks, I'm going to be asking for those to be uploaded. I'm looking for approximately 12 one-page journal entries. The grade is full credit for doing it, because this is just to give you an opportunity to kind of think through some of the discussion points in the videos and the topics that we have discussed, and now as you're ending your seminary career, just to be able to ponder on those things. And then finally is the final paper, and it's an essay, okay? It's not an extensive research paper. Where I really want you to focus is back on those Lominger skills, the competency skill sets that you've been working on and kind of putting in the forefront as you continue in ministry practicum opportunities in your own personal ministry. And so it's not going to be that big a deal. It can be first person. Of course, there need to be some substantial or substantive other resources that you use in it, particularly Lominger. You would be certainly citing him and those documents, but maybe a couple of others as well. And perhaps you can just take part of the paper and discuss your own personal ministry setting, your own personal ministry situation, and then from that, extrapolate out how you came about those 2 or 3 or even 4 in some cases, areas that you wanted to work in. And then you can take each one of those and then just bring in the Lominger stuff, as well as some of those things that, perhaps came up in the class as we talked about some of these different areas of ministry, brokenness and agility, mentoring, some of those issues. So I'm looking for a very personalized kind of paper. And I got to be honest, I'm generous as a grader, so you're all going to do well. But I want this to be a helpful and good exercise for you to really make you stop and think, how has my study prepared me for ministry, whether it's future ministry or the ministry that I'm in right now? And so that's basically it for this week. As you're writing your paper and as you're, typing through and writing the journal entries, I wanted you to take note of this. This is it's a family. It was in my family. My mother passed away 1.5 years ago, and this was in her estate. It was actually my great uncle's. It is called a Corona writing machine, and it's about 100 years old, maybe 105 years old. It's one of the early ones. It still works. Actually, the ribbon is old, and be hard pressed to find a replacement ribbon for this. Though you could, I understand, feed one in, and I may do that someday. Perfectly functional. It works. It's in perfect condition. My great uncle was in the U.S. Army, and he served in the Army in the Philippines. But as a soldier, his job was working with the war correspondents and the news back here in the U.S. And so he would type the official press releases that the generals or others would give them, and he would type those, and then those would get sent to the rest of the news outlets in those days so that the folks back home could read about what's going on in the war. So this thing was in the Philippines for a couple of years with my great uncle. He typed all kinds of news on it about the war and how it was going, and then it came back and ended up in our garage for probably 50 years when I was a kid growing up in a case, and never really got used or even opened. And I was surprised I'd forgotten about it, and my older brother insisted that I take it. So it sits here in my office, my study, on my one of my shelves with a bunch of old books I have. So anyways, that just made me think of how much easier you have it, and I have it, with laptops and nice computer keyboards. So that's just a kind of a random thought. I'll see you guys in the discussion threads, and let's have a great week. God bless you.